The Handmaiden, a character in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2: The Sith Lords, embodies a rich complexity deeply intertwined with the Force and its philosophical underpinnings. She is an enigmatic figure whose personal journey reflects broader themes of conflict, duty, and self-discovery. Her relationship with the Force, though not immediately evident, is pivotal in exploring her identity and the overarching narrative of KOTOR 2. The Handmaiden is first encountered on the hidden Jedi enclave of Telos IV, aboard the starship Ebonhawk. She serves as an aide to Etris, one of the last Jedi Masters known to have survived the devastation of the Jedi Order after the Jedi Civil War. As a member of the Akani species, her culture emphasizes martial prowess, emotional discipline, and the ability to understand others through combat. The Akani believe that combat is a form of communication, a philosophy that deeply influences the Handmaiden's interactions with others. This cultural lens shapes her view of the Force and those who wield it, even as she grapples with her own latent connection to it. The Handmaiden is bound by a deep sense of duty and loyalty to Atris, yet her introduction to the Exile, KOTOR 2's protagonist, begins to unravel these loyalties. The Exile, a former Jedi general who served under Revan during the Mandalorian Wars, carries a unique wound in the Force that disrupts those around them. This disruption acts as a catalyst for the Handmaiden, compelling her to question her role, her beliefs, and her understanding of the Force. The Exile's presence and their actions create a ripple effect, forcing her to confront the buried truths of her identity. Her connection to the Force is an unspoken secret. She is the daughter of Jedi Master Aaron K, making her Force-sensitive by blood, though she has been raised in an environment that denies and suppresses this truth. Atris, herself a conflicted figure torn between her Jedi ideals and her descent into the dark side, manipulates the Handmaiden to serve her own purposes. Atris's disdain for the Jedi Order's failures and her ambition to rebuild it in her image creates a toxic dynamic where the Handmaiden's potential remains stifled. She is forbidden to train in the ways of the Jedi, not due to a lack of capability, but because of Atris's need for control and her fear of losing another ally to the temptations of the Force. The philosophical conflict between the Handmaiden's Akani upbringing and the teachings of the Jedi is a central tension in her character arc. The Akani view combat as a form of truth, where physical confrontation strips away deceit and reveals the essence of one's soul. The Jedi, by contrast, often regard combat as a last resort, an action to be taken only in defense. This philosophical divergence creates a unique lens through which the Handmaiden interprets the Force. While the Jedi seek harmony and detachment, the Akani embrace the intensity of emotion and the clarity it brings in battle. The Handmaiden exists at the intersection of these two ideologies, embodying both their strengths and contradictions. Through her interactions with the Exile, the Handmaiden begins to question her loyalty to Atris and the path that has been chosen for her. The Exile, much like Revan before them, represents a break from traditional Jedi philosophy. They reject the binary morality of light and dark, instead embracing a more nuanced understanding of the Force as a tool shaped by the user's will and intentions. This perspective resonates with the Handmaiden, who has always felt a sense of dissonance between her own beliefs and the rigid codes imposed upon her. The Exile's teachings offer her a new framework for understanding her role in the galaxy and her connection to the Force. The Handmaiden's internal conflict is further exacerbated by her sense of isolation and loss. She is the youngest of her sisters, all of whom perished during the Jedi Civil War. This loss leaves her with a profound sense of survivor's guilt, further deepening her bond to Atris, whom she views as a surrogate mentor. However, Atris's manipulation and emotional distance prevent the Handmaiden from finding true solace or closure. It is through her bond with the Exile that she begins to heal, finding strength in her vulnerability and embracing her individuality. In her journey with the Exile, the Handmaiden comes to understand that her connection to the Force is not a burden to be feared, but a gift that allows her to forge her own destiny. Her training in the ways of the Jedi, should the Exile choose to guide her, serves as a reclamation of her heritage and a rejection of Atris's control. Yet, even without formal Jedi training, the Handmaiden's growth is evident in her evolving philosophy. She learns to balance the Akani reverence for combat with the Jedi principles of restraint and compassion, forging a path that is uniquely her own. The Handmaiden's narrative arc is a microcosm of the larger themes explored in KOTOR 2. The game challenges traditional notions of the Force, presenting it as a living entity shaped by the choices and beliefs of its wielders. The exile's role as a wound in the Force underscores this theme, as their influence disrupts the established order and forces those around them to reevaluate their understanding of themselves and the galaxy. The Handmaiden, in turn, becomes a vessel for this philosophical exploration, embodying the tension between duty and self-discovery, loyalty and independence, tradition and change. Her journey also highlights the cyclical nature of conflict and the potential for growth through adversity. The Akani belief that combat reveals the truth aligns with the game's broader assertion that struggle is an inherent part of existence. Through her trials, the Handmaiden gains a deeper understanding of herself and her place in the galaxy. She learns that strength is not merely a matter of physical prowess, but also of emotional resilience and moral clarity. Ultimately, the Handmaiden's connection to the Force and its philosophy is one of reconciliation and integration. She reconciles the conflicting aspects of her identity, the warrior and the Jedi, the servant and the individual, and emerges as a more complete and empowered being. Her story is a testament to the transformative power of choice and the enduring quest for self-knowledge. In a galaxy defined by conflict and uncertainty, the Handmaiden's journey offers a poignant reminder of the importance of inner strength and the courage to forge one's own path. The Handmaiden's growth continues to unfold as her relationship with the exile deepens. Her loyalty to Atris begins to waver under the weight of new perspectives and experiences. While Atris sought to control the Handmaiden by denying her training in the Force, the exile takes a different approach. The exile sees potential in the Handmaiden, not as a tool to be wielded, but as an individual who must come to terms with her own power and identity. This encouragement provides her with the space to explore what being Force-sensitive truly means, outside of Atris's shadow. Through dialogue and actions, the exile can guide the Handmaiden toward understanding her latent connection to the Force. If she accepts this guidance, the Handmaiden begins her training, taking the first steps on a path she was long denied. This training is more than a simple acquisition of Jedi techniques. It represents a fundamental shift in her worldview. For the Handmaiden, learning to wield the Force is an act of reclaiming her agency and embracing a part of herself that she was taught to suppress. This development mirrors the exile's own journey, where the Force becomes a tool of personal expression rather than a strict moral compass dictated by the Jedi or the Sith. The Handmaiden's relationship with combat remains central to her character. As an Akani, she has always viewed fighting as a form of dialogue, a way to understand others on a deeper level. This philosophy does not diminish with her newfound connection to the Force, rather, it evolves. The Handmaiden learns to blend her martial discipline with the wisdom and restraint imparted by the exile. This synthesis allows her to see combat not only as a means of communication but also as a form of meditation, a way to center herself and connect with the living Force around her. Her bond with the exile is particularly significant in this regard. The Akani belief that true understanding comes through combat is reflected in her sparring sessions with the exile. These sessions are not merely physical confrontations, they are moments of profound emotional and spiritual connection. Through these exchanges, the Handmaiden gains insight into the exile's character and struggles, while also revealing her own vulnerabilities and inner conflicts. The dynamic between them serves as a narrative device to explore themes of trust, intimacy, and mutual growth. The influence of Atris looms large throughout the Handmaiden's journey. Atris's rigid adherence to her interpretation of Jedi ideals contrasts sharply with the exile's more pragmatic and flexible philosophy. This dichotomy forces the Handmaiden to confront the contradictions within her own beliefs. Atris represents the old ways of the Jedi ways that failed during the Jedi Civil War and contributed to the Order's downfall. The exile, on the other hand, embodies a new approach, one that acknowledges the complexities of the Force and the moral ambiguity of the galaxy. As the Handmaiden begins to see Atris's flaws and the limits of her ideology, her loyalty to her former mentor is tested. Atris's descent into the dark side becomes increasingly apparent, and her obsession with rebuilding the Jedi Order in her own image drives a wedge between her and the Handmaiden. This rift is a painful one, as the Handmaiden must reconcile her respect and affection for Atris with the growing realization that Atris's path is one of self-destruction and tyranny. The confrontation between the Handmaiden and Atris is a pivotal moment in her character arc. This encounter forces the Handmaiden to assert her independence and make a definitive choice about where her loyalties lie. Whether she sides with Atris or the exile depends on the player's influence and choices, but the underlying narrative remains consistent. The Handmaiden must confront her past and embrace her true self, regardless of the outcome. The philosophical undertones of the Handmaiden story are deeply tied to the broader themes of KOTOR 2. The game challenges the binary moral framework traditionally associated with the Star Wars universe, presenting the Force as a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. The Handmaiden's journey reflects this complexity, as she navigates the tension between her Akani heritage, her loyalty to Atris, and her own emerging philosophy. Her story is a microcosm of the game's exploration of identity, choice, and the nature of power. In embracing her connection to the Force, the Handmaiden also confronts the question of destiny. The Jedi often speak of the will of the Force, suggesting that individuals are guided by a higher power toward their ultimate purpose. The Handmaiden's experience offers a more nuanced perspective. Her journey suggests that while the Force may provide guidance, it is ultimately the choices of the individual that shape their path. This idea aligns with the exile's role as a disruptor of fate, a being whose very existence challenges the deterministic view of the Force. The Handmaiden's arc is not one of simple transformation but of integration. She does not abandon her Akani roots or the discipline instilled in her by Atris. Instead, she weaves these elements into a new understanding of herself and her place in the galaxy. Her combat skills, her loyalty, and her resilience remain central to her character, but they are now tempered by the wisdom and perspective she gains through her journey with the exile. This integration is symbolized by her choice to don the traditional robes of a Jedi should she complete her training. The robes serve as a visual representation of her acceptance of her Force sensitivity and her willingness to embrace the responsibilities that come with it. Yet, even in this new role, the Handmaiden retains her identity as an Akani warrior, bridging the gap between two seemingly disparate worlds. The Handmaiden's story ultimately serves as a meditation on the nature of power and the importance of self-awareness. Her journey underscores the idea that true strength comes not from external validation or rigid adherence to doctrine, but from an internal harmony and understanding of one's own values and beliefs. In this way, the Handmaiden becomes a symbol of the game's broader philosophical themes, offering a compelling narrative that resonates with the complex moral landscape of KOTOR 2. The culmination of the Handmaiden's journey is intrinsically tied to her sense of self and her place in the broader conflict between light and dark. Her struggles are not merely internal, but reflect the galaxy's turmoil as it attempts to recover from the devastation of the Jedi Civil War and the subsequent Sith resurgence. The Handmaiden's journey with the exile is one of rediscovery, as she confronts the truths of her past and forges a new path forward, one shaped by choice rather than circumstance. Throughout her travels aboard the Ebon Hawk, the Handmaiden undergoes a profound transformation. Her identity, once defined solely by her loyalty to Atris and her Akani heritage, becomes increasingly multifaceted. This transformation is mirrored in her evolving relationship with the Force. While initially hesitant to embrace her connection to it, viewing it as a forbidden aspect of herself, she gradually comes to see the Force as an integral part of her being. The exile's influence is crucial in this regard, as they challenge her preconceptions and encourage her to explore her potential. The concept of choice is central to the Handmaiden's character arc. Unlike Atris, who clings to the past and seeks to impose her will on the future, the Handmaiden learns to embrace the uncertainty of the present. This philosophical shift is emblematic of KOTOR 2's broader themes, which emphasize the importance of agency and the power of individual decisions. The Handmaiden's journey highlights the idea that destiny is not a fixed path, but a series of choices that shape one's fate. As her bond with the exile deepens, the Handmaiden begins to see herself as more than a servant of Atris. She recognizes that her loyalty, while admirable, has been a barrier to her growth. This realization is painful but necessary, as it allows her to break free from the constraints of her past and embrace a more authentic version of herself. The exile, by offering her the opportunity to train as a Jedi, provides her with the tools to redefine her identity on her own terms. The Handmaiden's training is a pivotal aspect of her character development. Should the player choose to guide her along this path, she not only learns to wield the Force but also gains a deeper understanding of its philosophical implications. This training is not without its challenges, as the Handmaiden must confront her fears and insecurities. However, through her perseverance and the exile's guidance, she emerges as a capable and confident Jedi. This transformation is symbolic of her journey towards self-empowerment, as she learns to balance the warrior's discipline of the Akani with the spiritual wisdom of the Jedi. Her confrontation with Atris marks a turning point in her narrative. This encounter forces the Handmaiden to confront the lies and manipulation that have shaped her life. Atris, consumed by her own ambition and bitterness, represents the dangers of unchecked power and the corruption of noble ideals. The Handmaiden's decision to stand against Atris, whether through direct confrontation or by aligning herself fully with the exile, is a powerful assertion of her independence. It signifies her rejection of Atris's control and her commitment to forging her own path. The Handmaiden's journey is further enriched by her interactions with other members of the Ebon Hawk crew. Each companion offers a unique perspective on the Force and its role in the galaxy, contributing to the Handmaiden's evolving understanding of her own connection to it. Her relationships with characters such as Visas Mar, another Force-sensitive individual with a complex past, provide opportunities for mutual learning and growth. These interactions underscore the game's emphasis on the interconnectedness of its characters and the ways in which their individual stories contribute to the overarching narrative. The Handmaiden's growth also serves as a counterpoint to the exile's own journey. While the exile begins the game as a figure of immense power and influence, their role as a mentor and guide allows them to impart their wisdom to others, including the Handmaiden. This dynamic highlights the game's exploration of leadership and the responsibilities that come with it. The exile's willingness to share their knowledge and empower their companions reflects a key aspect of their character, one that contrasts with the more hierarchical and dogmatic approach of figures like Atris. The philosophical underpinnings of the Handmaiden story are deeply tied to the game's exploration of the Force as a dynamic and multifaceted phenomenon. The Handmaiden's journey challenges traditional notions of what it means to be a Jedi, offering a more nuanced perspective on the relationship between power, morality, and identity. Her experiences illustrate the idea that the Force is not inherently good or evil, but a reflection of the intentions and actions of those who wield it. This perspective aligns with the game's broader themes, which question the binary morality of light and dark and encourage players to consider the complexities of their choices. In the end, the Handmaiden's story is one of reconciliation and empowerment. She reconciles the conflicting aspects of her identity, her Akani heritage, her loyalty to Atris, and her connection to the Force, and emerges as a stronger, more self-assured individual. Her journey serves as a testament to the transformative power of self-discovery and the importance of embracing one's true nature. In a galaxy fraught with conflict and uncertainty, the Handmaiden's arc offers a poignant reminder of the potential for growth and redemption. The legacy of the Handmaiden within KOTOR 2 extends beyond her personal journey. Her story enriches the game's narrative, providing a deeply human perspective on the broader themes of war, loyalty, and the search for identity. Through her struggles and triumphs, the Handmaiden becomes a symbol of resilience and hope, embodying the game's message that even in the face of great adversity, it is possible to find strength and purpose.